everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. As a quick reminder, this webinar is being recorded and it will be available to view on our website next Tuesday. Today, we're going to be talking about how to seek out university support and resources for yourself and your peers. I'm joined today by two amazing colleagues, so I'm going to go ahead and allow them to introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marlene Romero, and I'm the Care Services Coordinator in the Dean of Students Office.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ezra Bakar, and I'm the Office Coordinator in the Dean of Students Office.
Thank you so much for being here, Ezra and Marlene. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Marlene to begin her presentation.
All right. So hello again. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Marlene Romero. I'm the Care Services Coordinator within the Dean of Students Office. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about how you as a student can seek care for yourself or for your peers and friends. So a little bit about the Dean of Students Office. You'll see here, this is our mission. Our goal is to assist students in navigating the university and resolving issues that might come up. Whether they be educational, personal issues, or other concerns that ultimately affect their Titan experience. So the area of care services falls within the Dean of Students Office. Our university is a large institution, and we understand that for a lot of students, that can be difficult to navigate. In addition to that, transitioning to a brand new school can be hard. And we understand that a lot of students might experience a variety of different things that can impact them and potentially intervene and impact their education at Cal State Fullerton. And so for that reason, our team of under Care Services are there to support students. So when these things come up, we can help students resolve those so that they can focus on their education. You'll see here, this is our care services team, along with on the left is our basic needs center coordinator, Victoria Jamian, and then myself in the center. And on the right-hand side is our associate dean of students and director of care services, Carmen Carriel. And so together we offer care-related guidance to students who are experiencing distressing situations for a variety of different reasons. Today, I'm going to specifically talk about students who might seek support from our office because of a specific concern that they have, so students with a concern, or students who might need support from our office because of a distress-related issue that they might be experiencing. So when I talk about care services, what I'm referring to specifically and what we help students with is getting them connected to counseling or mental health services if that is what they're needing in the moment. We provide students with information related to either a support service or a campus department. This might include getting them connected to involvement opportunities on campus, getting them connected to staff members or individuals in their specific colleges. Sometimes this means providing information that is related to basic needs services. That might be the cause of their distress. Also helping students develop healthy plans of action, right? Sometimes it's not just one thing that is causing distress, but it could be multiple things. And when that is the case, a lot of what we do is sit down with the student and identify what support resources will be helpful, develop a plan to restore student well-being, again, so that they can focus on their education. We also will, when a student has been hospitalized and cannot contact their faculty member, then we help students notify their faculty if they're missing class due to hospitalization. So that is what I mean when I say and when I talk about care services in general. So students might seek support from our office because they have some sort of concern. They might, as a student, you might experience a challenge encounter an issue for which you seek assistance because you weren't able to resolve this challenge or issue on your own, or maybe you don't know where to get help. And so that's one way in which we can provide support to students through the Dean of Students Office. Some examples of those issues or concerns that students might experience could fall under admissions and records, right? Sometimes students don't know where they can get a transcript. They don't know how to withdraw from a course. They might have questions about how to register for classes. When it comes to academic or class related, perhaps a student isn't content with the grade that they received, but they're not quite sure what they can do about it in the moment. And so they might reach out to us for that. Financial aid related questions about when a financial aid disbursement will come. Any questions about completing FAFSA, those types of things can sometimes be a barrier for students if they don't have the information. And a lot of questions about navigating the university. As I mentioned earlier, we're a large institution with several different departments, and yes, it can be challenging. And so when a student is unsure about how to navigate our university, we're typically a good place to start. You tell us your concern and we'll help you navigate to whatever department might have the answer for you. One thing to know about students with concern is that typically these referrals are initiated by students. So as a student, you might have a question, a concern, or a challenge, and you would be the person to notify us that you need additional support with this. And now I'm going to show you and walk you through the form on our website that you can complete if you find yourself having a challenge or issue for which you seek support. So if you navigate to our Dean of Students website, you'll see the Tell Us Your Issue form. And if you have some form of issue or question, this would be the appropriate form for you to complete. So you would scroll down and enter your full name, campus-wide ID. That information is really helpful to us. And then tell us the nature of your concern, right? If it falls under one of these categories, great. If not, you can just mark other. And then we ask that you describe in detail your issue or challenge. So this is an opportunity for you to tell us a little bit more about what support is it that you need. We also ask you to tell us what action you've taken, if any, or if you've consulted with folks already across campus. And then finally, the outcome that you're seeking. What outcome is it that would be helpful to you? And then we ask you to confirm your CSUF email because, as most other departments on campus, we'll communicate with you via your Cal State Fullerton email. Once you complete that and share that information, you'll just submit the report, and then that will come to our care services team. We'll review that in detail and work towards finding the information and getting you an answer to whatever question it is that you might have. So that is our student with concern. The second area is our student in distress. And so students in distress could be students that are struggling academically with personal or emotional issues, behavioral difficulties that hinder their success. So here's some examples of what an appropriate referral might be. You might notice that one of your peers is struggling academically. Perhaps your peer was in class every week, really engaged, and all of a sudden you notice that they're no longer attending classes. There might be a change in their behavior, and that might lead you to become concerned or worried about them. Sometimes a student or one of your friends might just come out and say that they're feeling really overwhelmed, that they're stressed, they might be anxious, or might tell you, I'm feeling depressed. And that could be an indicator of a student being in distress. Sometimes it's a little bit more clear where a student will directly write threats or harm to either themselves or others. As I mentioned, a student can experience a variety of different emotions while in college, and some of those can be difficult to cope with. It's not uncommon for a student to experience family, relationship, or interpersonal problems. You know, we understand that a lot of our students have to work in addition to taking a full course load, and that can be a lot to manage and can be cause for distress sometimes. And then we also understand that sometimes a death of a family member might occur that impacts a student during the semester. And so that might be another indicator of a student being in distress. One thing to note with students in distress is these referrals typically are initiated by someone else. So a faculty member, a staff member, maybe a peer might observe something, or a student might say something directly to their friend or to their faculty and staff. And that comment or their behavior leads that other individual to become concerned about the student's well-being. And that's what may prompt someone to submit a student in distress referral. So as a student, right, you might encounter one of your friends who's experiencing distress, especially right now as we're all in a virtual setting, and that can be especially challenging. So when you encounter, or if you encounter a friend that it appears to be in distress, some things that you can do in the moment to help that student is ask to speak with them. Right? Mentioning and noticing that they're in some form of distress could send the message to your friend that you care about them and that you cared enough to notice that something's going on. And then listen to what's going on, listen to what they have to say and their experience. Based on that, if you know of support services on our campus that you can tell your friend about, then making sure to offer that support and that referral to whatever support service might be appropriate based on what they're disclosing. If you don't know of a support service on our campus that can help your friend based on whatever they disclose, that's okay, because then you can refer them to the Dean of Students office and we can extend support to the student. One thing I do want to mention is that it's sometimes the case that a student will tell someone else that they're thinking about harming themselves, that they have a plan to harm themselves. When that's the case, it's really important that as a peer, as a student, as a friend, that you are communicating that information, not just with us, but if a student is in imminent danger, that you're calling 911 to get them the support that they need in the moment. So I want to also share with you the referral that you could utilize if you wanted to connect a student or one of your friends with our office. So we're back at the Dean of Students homepage, and the referral form would be our care services referral on the left-hand side. So you would click on that. There's some information up front. But you'll want to complete the sections in this form as well. We'll ask you for your full name, your phone number, your email address. What is the concern specifically, if you know it, when this happened, at what time it happened, and where. And then under this section, the student, where it says student in distress, we'll want you to provide us information for the student who is experiencing the distress, right? If this is a friend, what is your friend's name? If you know their campus-wide ID, what is their campus-wide ID? If you have their phone number or email address, then provide that to us as well. And then as you scroll down, we'll ask you a little bit more about why it is that you're referring this student. We give you an opportunity to describe what behavior was it that you observed, what comment was it that led you to become concerned about this student. and how long this has been happening. This information is really helpful because once our staff gets it, we can determine how to best support this student and then move forward with reaching out to your friend. We've provided some different forms of distress here. So if what your friend disclosed falls under any of these categories, you can click them. If not, that's okay. Just if you share any information that you have in the moment, that is helpful to us as we review these. Okay. So once you submit a referral, a member of the care services team will then reach out to your friend and ask to schedule a meeting to further discuss whatever distress they're experiencing. When we do have meetings with students, the purpose of that meeting is to assess the needs based on whatever concern the student is sharing, right? These are all very centered on the student. Together, we try to identify and coordinate resources and referrals, whether they be on campus or off campus, that will help address and reduce the distress that they're experiencing. I mentioned earlier, sometimes what that means is developing an action plan, and it's a variety of different resources that may be appropriate to help reduce that distress. And then we'll follow up as needed, depending on the nature of the distress and the support that the student needs. We'll continue to maintain outreach and follow up until either the action plan is completed or the student's primary concerns have been resolved. But our focus is really to provide individualized care and attention to students. And we really focus on that and listen to what the student's individual needs are and develop a plan of action based on those needs. One thing I want to mention is you might refer a student or your friend to us because you're concerned about them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the student is required to meet with us. We will always extend services, care services to student. However, a student is not mandated to meet with the care services staff. And so that's important to know. We will put forth effort to provide support resources, but if the student doesn't want to meet with us, that is an option that they have. So at this point, I will answer any questions that may have come up.
Thank you so much for all of that information, Marlene. It was definitely a lot, and I'm sure it was very helpful. Some questions that we have are, if I refer my friend, are they going to get in trouble with the university?
Yeah, thank you, Ezra. No, a referral does not mean that a student is going to be in trouble. So what a referral does is it lets us know that a student might be struggling and might need support, so then we can extend care services to them. So our outreach is purely out of support. It's because we want to help. We want the student to be able to focus on their academics. It is not punitive in any way and does not get a student in trouble if they're experiencing distress.
Thank you, Marlene. And kind of going off of that question, if we feel like we need to refer friends to us for help, do we need to tell them first?
Yeah. You don't necessarily need to tell them. However, it is helpful to let them know. As I mentioned, part of what we do when we receive these referrals is we will send an email to the student, let them know that we understand that they might be experiencing some distress and we want to help. Often students are more receptive to that email if they know that someone has coordinated that help and that support for them, so that they're not blindsided by it. So it is helpful to tell the student. However, you're not required to notify them.
Thank you again, Marlene. And if students have general questions, how can they get in contact with the Dean of Students office?
If a student needs support from staff in our office, there's a couple of ways in which you can reach us. You can always email us, you can reach us via phone, but you can also seek support through the Tell Us Your Issue form, right? If your question is related to a concern or a challenge, or you can also reach us through the student in distress form if you're seeking support from someone else, or if you seek support for a distress related issue.
Wow, that's really interesting. So what happens after a student submits a Tell Us Your Issue form? What can they expect?
Yeah, very similar to the student in distress form. Once you submit a Tell Us Your Issue form, we will take the information, read what you wrote in detail, and then follow up with appropriate campus departments to try to find an answer to your question or address whatever concern you brought forth. Our staff might follow up with you if we need some clarification, and that is just so that we can, again, better assist you and better address your concern.
And then one more question that came in through the chat is everything kept confidential?
Yeah, so we're not, our staff is bound by FERPA, and so we are not at liberty to just disclose student information. And so, yes, conversations with students are private. However, confidentiality is a little bit different. If it related to a student disclosing thoughts of harming themselves or others, right, that's a situation in which I wouldn't be able to keep that information confidential. I would have to report that to seek support for the student or other parties that might be at risk.
Thank you so much, Marlene. That was all of the questions that we had, but if students do have any additional questions, please feel free to email us at deanofstudents@fullerton.edu. At this point, I will hand it over to Jen.
Thank you, Ezra and Marlene. I seriously cannot thank you enough for that presentation. I know I found it really, really valuable, and I'm assuming our audience did as well. There was such great information in there. Before we wrap up the webinar, I just want to give you an opportunity to say some final words to our Titans.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. I understand this time is very challenging for a lot of folks. Our university is difficult to navigate when we're all on campus. And so we understand that being off campus, it can be a little harder to navigate different campus departments. So I just want to let Titans know that if they need support, we are here for them. They can call, email. We are here to help, and please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Thank you again, Marlene. I love that. Just a reminder to everyone that this webinar was recorded and it will be available on the Dean of Students website. So it's fullerton.edu/Dean of Students, and you're going to want to click on the virtual workshops tab. That's where you'll find this webinar and then all of our past webinars as well. Thank you again to the audience for joining us. Make sure you check our website to rewatch or share with a friend. And until then, we'll see you next time. Bye, Titans.